Friday looked like the end of the story, the cross, the tomb, the silence, but Easter reminds us that Sunday was coming. Hi, my name is Leslie, and welcome to Happy Tuesday, where we do crafts and DIY and home decor and more. Today I'm sharing 5 Easter DIYs that are inspired by the resurrection. Now don't forget to stick around until the very end and I'll have a hint on one of next week's projects. So grab your favorite beverage and let's get crafting! Here is a quick sneak peek into all of today's projects. I am in love with this collection, and we are going to get started with project number 1. We're going to start off relatively easily, and this is a project using these 2x2 pieces. If you'll remember, I bought this 8-foot piece at Lowe's for like $2.80 something, and we're going to break it down into one 6-inch piece, 2 3.5-inch pieces, 2.5-inch pieces, 1 3-inch piece, and 2 2-inch pieces. And we're going to start with the 6-inch piece and the 2 2-inch pieces, and I am going to stain those with a nice coat of antique wax. And then, as you can see, I'm going to put the 3.5-inch pieces up underneath my cross and alternate the other pieces, and then we're going to paint all of these white. Now I did glue that cross together with wood glue by super glue, and now we are going to glue the rest of the pieces together. I am using that little clamp. It's not a little clamp, it's a pretty big clamp, and I bought that, I want to say, for $5 at Dollar Tree, and if it wasn't at Dollar Tree, then I would have bought that at Harbor Freight. The little pieces, the little clamps, I know I did buy those at Dollar Tree, and so we're going to clamp these together, give that wood glue chance to cure really well so that they're in the position that I want. And then while those are drying, I am going to go set up some stuff on my Cricut Joy. Once that's all dried, we're going to add a little bit more wood glue in there, and we're going to glue all those together and clamp that good and well. Now I'm going to grab my Cricut Joy, and I am printing off E, A, S, and R. And I just picked my favorite font that was narrow, because those, even though they're 2x2, that actually only like 1.5 inch across the face. So you want to pick a narrow font. And if you don't have a cutting machine, no worries. You can find some stickers and put those on there, or you could hand write this. Now I'm just going to show you real quick, if you bought stickers, what it's going to look like. But I wanted this to be in that moss green color. You guys know that's my favorite. So I'm going to save those letters in case I want to do this project again. And I am going to use my letter cutouts as stencils. And I'm going to come in with that moss green. Now you could do this in any color combination that you want. You don't have to paint your blocks white. You can paint them all kinds of fun Easter colors, or you can paint the letters all kinds of fun Easter colors, or you could just go real simple with the black and white, whatever, you know, suits your taste. Then I'm going to grab a fat quarter from Walmart, and I got this kind of in this royal purple color. And even though it says Easter, the royal purple is the Lenten color, and so we're going to create a little Lenten drape over our cross. And I will grab a few dabs of hot glue and kind of glue that into place so that it hangs the way I want it to, and trim it down so that it fits. Now, had I not glued the top part of those blocks that are underneath the sides of the cross down, then I could have pulled that drape forward, but then it would have covered up my letters. So I like that it hangs down in the back, and that is all there is to this project. I am loving it. And using up some more of that 2x2 piece, this cost us less than a couple dollars to make. Pretty budget friendly. If you're enjoying seasonal DIY like this, then give today's video a big old thumbs up, share it with your friends, comment down below. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, give it a hype, and let's get back to crafting. That brings us to project number 2, another seriously budget-friendly project that I am so in love with. So we're just going to use these 3 scrap pieces of board. My husband cut these for me out of obviously scrap wood, to fit a book kind of size. And I'm going to sand those down and then paint one white. That's Snow White by Waverly. I'm going to paint one in that truffle brown and then one in the sandstone color, also Waverly colors. And on my Cricut Joy, I put together, and this is just on the Cricut app, I put together He Is Risen in my favorite font. Well, actually, probably not my favorite font, but a font that I liked for this project. And then I'm going to print those out, and I am also going to use these as stencils. I love the look of the stencil with the paint versus just the vinyl sitting there, but you can do whichever way makes your heart happy. And I'm going to put some wood glue by Super Glue in there and put our book stack together and hold it down with clamps while that dries. And then I'm going to grab some of this air dry clay. Now this is Modelite clay. It is my favorite air dry clay to use. I love the way it feels, hence the squish, squish, squishy. But I also love that it's super lightweight and it maintains that white color, and it's very easy to paint over. And we are going to be fashioning the front of the tomb. And then as you can see, I just grabbed a rock there that kind of fit with the size I was looking for. And I'm just going to kind of form this and shape it until I like the way it is. Make sure my rock is covering up that space. And then I'm going to set that aside to dry. Now that takes typically anywhere from 24 to 72 hours to dry, but I usually will paint it after it's about 12 hours. Now I use some of these little balsa wood pieces. I bought that whole package on clearance at Hobby Lobby, and we're going to paint those in the truffle brown color. And then in super speed, you can see I'm going to use 4 different colors and paint this clay to look like stone. So I'm using silver lining, elephant, sandstone, and the truffle brown. And I'm just adding in layers of paint and dabbing it on with that sponge, also with a regular brush, and kind of drying it in between with my heat tool. I wanted to show you that even though this process takes a few minutes, it is super easy and you don't have to be real fussy with it, and it turns out perfectly. Once we've gotten that done, I'm going to take a little dab of that wood glue and a little toothpick sized piece, and we're going to put a dab on there and put our crosses together. And then before that clay completely dries up, I am going to use my awl and poke a little hole in there and a little dab of glue, and we are going to secure our crosses inside that stone, as it were. Once we've gotten that done, I'm going to grab another little piece of this purple fabric. This is the piece I cut off from that first project, and I'm going to fashion a little Lenten stole to go on the middle cross, and then just add a few little dabs of glue. Actually, the glue did not want to sit real well, so we're going to come back in with a dab of hot glue. That fabric was, and the piece being so tiny, it just needed something a little stiffer to secure it down. So we're going to just tiniest bit of hot glue and get that in place. And then I am going to add some more Modelite clay onto the top of my books, and I'm going to leave this white, and this is going to create kind of the holder for the stone so that it stays put. and a dab of hot glue, well, more than a dab, a dash of hot glue on top of our books on that rock piece, and put that into place. And this project is complete. I love, love, love the view of the empty tomb, and he is risen. It's so awesome. Just love the way this looks. Let me know in the comments below, what do you guys think? And that will bring us to project number 3. I think I've told you before, I love to paper craft, and I've got a ton of these shadow boxes that I bought in a big bundle from Michael's when they were on sale at one point. And so we're going to use a 9x9 piece, and I am grabbing a couple of pieces of watercolor paint, and we are going to be layering in a project that shows the veil has been torn. And so I'm going to I'm going to start by tracing out the inside dimensions of this insert piece for my shadow box, and I just cut all the way around it. We will trim that all down once the whole project is complete, and then I'm just going to grab some little scrap pieces of different colors of brown, and we're going to cut that off and make it look like kind of little hills. So you can see what I'm doing. I'm just, again, nothing real fussy. We're just, trimming it down to make it look like all the hills are kind of standing in a row, giving it some dimension. And then I'm going to use a little bit more of that balsa wood, and we're going to create 3 different crosses. And I'm doing these in 3 different sizes, again, to give it kind of some dimension that shows that, the crosses are all kind of in the back of the hill. And then I'm going to grab my watercolors and give them a good spritz of water. And we're just going to be using various shades of black, adding different water to it. And then just kind of scrabbling this onto our paper, adding a little bit more water to it, kind of just, honestly, this was just kind of stress relief. We're going to just keep adding on that black until we like the color. I'm just trying to create some, like a black sky sort of look. And then I'm going to cut it in half, and we'll get to fixing that in a little bit. Next, I'm going to grab another piece, and I saturated that piece with a good amount of water, as you can see. And we're going to go back into the black, but we're going to do it a little bit lighter. So these are going to be kind of like rolling clouds. And then to create the cloud look, I went back in, dabbing a little bit of that black onto my sponge brush, and then adding some water and dabbing that onto that paper. Next, I'm coming in with some of this cloth, and I'm using an ivory. You can use whatever color you want to use. This is going to be my veil that is going to be torn. And so, as you can see there, so I just cut it down to the size that I wanted, that's going to fit on either side, kind of like curtains. And then we're coming back in with this black, and I'm just going to tear the black scenery as if you're kind of looking through the veil. And I was trying to get rid of the white part of the paper. What I'm going to come back in and do in a minute is just kind of tear that a little bit better, and then I will grab some more of that watercolor black and just kind of dab it onto the edges to get rid of that white. So I'm trying to show you, how I'm going to be layering this up. And then we're going to take our little billowing clouds, and we're going to create kind of a cloud scene. So you're seeing everything from behind the clouds. It's the clouds are rolling away. The sky is opening. The veil has been torn. And then we're going to use some of these little stickers from Dollar Tree. You can find those in their craft section. And they're little foam squares, and I am hot gluing those on because this watercolor paper is kind of thicker, and I just want to make sure that it's a good stick. And then we're just going to layer our pieces, putting those foam squares on and gluing those down until we get all the layers of all the pieces put together in, the layer that you see there. Now I did, because I'm again using hot glue on those foam squares, I did also use the squares to adhere the veil to the back side of this black. So you'll see here, we're just going to add some more of those stickers. Now, there are all kinds of other foam products, but I wanted to use the ones from Dollar Tree to show you how inexpensively this can be made. And the squares also, don't require that you cut them. A lot of those foam products that you get at, like Michael's or Hobby Lobby come in a roll, and you actually have to cut them. So this saves me that extra step. And then I trimmed around, or first marked it and then trimmed around so that this will fit inside of that insert, kind of lifting it out of the box. And then I'm going to make sure that the top fits a little tightly so that I can, create kind of a ripple effect. And I did glue my crosses down to the base of this shadow box. Now, once I've gotten all of those pieces put together and all in the order that I want them and in place, then we are going to put our box together. We'll start by wiping out our glass, make sure that's nice and clean on the inside, and then put our insert in, add our back to it. And that is all there is to this project. This turned out better than I had in my head. I was so excited to see it come together. I hope you enjoyed it. That brings us to project number 4. Now, project number 4 is going to be the easiest project here. We're going to go back with some more of that 2x2. We're going to cut one 12-inch piece and two 4-inch pieces, and then we are going to stain those. You can paint them if you want. I'm going to stain them with my antique wax, or you can stain them with whatever color matches your decor. I'm going to come back in with some more of that wood glue and my clamp, and we're going to put these in place where we want them, clamp it together so that it gets a really good hold. And because this is a 2x2, it will stand up all by itself, doesn't need a base or anything. And we are going to put white cloth, which is the symbol of the resurrection cloth or resurrection veil that we're going to hang over this cross. Now I'm going to cut this fat quarter in half, and then I am going to pull out my liquid stitch and create nice clean edges that are folded over and neat. I'm going to do that with the liquid stitch and my mini press. And then I'm just going to drape this over. I'm not going to glue it on. That way it could be changed if I wanted to do a lenten cloth and change this out. And I just put that in the place that I wanted it to hang. And that is all there is to this project. Super, super easy. Anyone can make it. Now, if you don't have the 2x2, you could make this with some thinner wood, maybe use some paint stir sticks or something like that. Or you could even go to your outdoor store and make it with a couple of branches. And that brings us to our final project, project number 5. I loved the other project so much that we are going to make another type of kind of layered, adding in some watercolor paint project into our shadow box. Now this is an 8x8 shadow box, and I'm going to first measure off this watercolor paper so that it fits directly inside of our shadow box, and we're going to cut that out. While I'm cutting this, I wanted to thank you all for your well wishes and your prayers. I am feeling much better, even though I'm still congested and I've got a terrible tickle in my throat. But thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And so I saved the little insert, the little cardboard. It's actually like a thick paper piece that's inside the fat quarters. And I am going to use that to make some little hills on the bottom of our paper. So as you can see, I am just cutting it out, kind of willy-nilly little hills. And here I only showed you two, but I end up cutting out 4 pieces and kind of creating a little depth there. And I'm going to round this one off a little bit so that it kind of blends in together. Then I am going to take my watercolors and I'm going to add some water onto the bottom kind of third of my page. And I'm going to grab some light blue, and this is kind of light blue for the sky. And we are just going to give that a nice kind of brush of color. And then I'm using those same balsa wood pieces to create 3 more crosses, covering them in that truffle colored paint. And we're going to again use our little squares. Now on this project, because we're using mostly paper, I didn't glue these on. I just used a little sticky back that was already on there, and started off with some of that glue tape. I think I bought that in a package of 4 on Temu, really super cheap. But we're going to come in, and I wanted to layer these a little bit deeper, so I'm actually putting squares on top of squares, so it has a different kind of thickness to it, because I wanted this to really pop off the page. And so you can see I'm just kind of adding it in there, and we are going to be also gluing our crosses together using a little dab of that wood glue. And if you get it in somewhere you don't want it, you can always touch up that paint with a little bit more paint in that truffle color. And then you can see I'm just going to kind of slide those in there. Now I had made a whole back scene, and I wrote this these words on here, and then I decided I didn't like my handwriting on the piece, although my husband thought it looked great, so I cut it off. And now I am watercoloring a new blue, and we're going to do a kind of a sunset or sunrise sky in the background. So I'm adding in some yellows and some water, kind of fading it out a little bit, and some pinks, which will kind of make that yellow turn a little bit orangey. I will go back in with some oranges and some different yellows, and we're just going to keep layering this on. Now I'm layering it wet on wet right now. And I will let it dry. So we're going to come in with a little bit more color, and you can just kind of do this until it looks the way you want it to look. Now don't worry about getting too fussy with it, because we are going to be adding some more color in here in a little bit, and typically watercolors will dry a little bit lighter than what you are seeing on the paper to start with. So I went into my Cricut design space, and I will have this linked below, and I just created these words that I'm going to cut out on vinyl and use as a stencil even on this watercolor paper. And I'm going to show you 2 different ways of taking that off. The first way, kind of rip the paper, and the second way, you couldn't even tell it had ever been there. And so we're going to go ahead and get this stenciled right on there. It says, "It's Friday, but Sunday's coming." And I'm going to take my watercolor pencils. They don't even have to be watercolor pencils, because I'm not going to, use the paint part, but it's what I had sitting right there. You can use any kind of pencils you wanted. You could stencil this on with a little bit of paint if you wanted to do that. But I wanted the crisp and clean look of those pieces. Now you can see I'm trying to peel this off without peeling off the paper, and it was really difficult. So I'm trying to peel and cut. And as you can see, I did rip off some paper, but no worries. We're going to fix that, and it's going to look better than ever. So secondly, I came in with my heat tool, and I'm adding just enough heat onto it to make that vinyl get really soft, not melty. You're not going to burn yourself, but it's soft so that, as you can see, it peels right off without pulling the paper off. I am sure there's probably a better way, and if you know of one, let me know in the comments below. I thought about using the temporary vinyl. Maybe that would have worked better, but I didn't have any. And so I used the permanent vinyl, which is what I have. And I'm telling you, a little bit of heat to it, and that popped off like a champ. So on the top, we're just going to go, I tried to go back in with just a little bit of water and kind of blend the colors in together, but it wasn't covering it enough to see that I didn't, so you could, so that it didn't look like I ripped the paper, in other words. And so then I came back in with some really bright yellow, and we're going to mute this down, but we're also going to add in some more bright yellow around everything. And so it will look like that sun is just popping through these words. And when this project is finished, I'm going to say it's one of my favorites of all time projects. And then I'm just going to add in a little bit of orange color and kind of mute it down a little bit and water it down a little bit and kind of come in. And as you see, it's just kind of developing this whole sunrise look that I am loving. Now, I got my paper a little bit too wet, I think, and so it started doing all these little pill things. But once I got it dry, I was able to, kind of brush those off, and they went away. So I was happy about that. And if you don't know, I'm not really an experienced watercolor painter, but I do love to do it. And so I do try to incorporate it into projects every now and then. So once I've kind of fussed through that a little bit, and honestly, you're seeing a really sped up version. I probably only messed with it, I'm going to guess 10 minutes. But I know you didn't want to watch 10 minutes of me dabbing watercolor paint on there. But once I got that done, then I went back in with the blue piece that I had cut out of my first project that I did with this, the one I hand wrote. And I love the way it created even more depth. So we're just going to add in some of those foam squares, and then we're going to come in with a little bit of pencil and add some kind of like sun rays coming out. And that is really all there is to this project. We're going to put it into our frame. Make sure you've cleaned your glass really well and set that down in there. And look at this. I am loving the way this turned out. And so here it is, all complete. It's Friday, ... but Sunday's coming. So exciting. And again, loving the way this turned out. And that is all the projects I have for you today. Here's our final look. 3 crosses on a hill, an empty tomb, and a promise that changed everything. Because when Friday looked like the end, Sunday was coming. I hope these Easter decor ideas inspire you as you prepared for the season. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like it and subscribe so you don't miss out on future projects. I'd love to hear in the comments below which one or ones of these were your favorites and which one or ones of these you will try to make for your Easter season. And if you do make something, please send me pictures to happytuesdaydiy@gmail.com. It always makes my heart happy to see y'all's pictures and to see how you have taken the inspiration that I've given and create something wonderful.
Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I had so much fun curating these projects for you. Now, since you stuck around till the very end, here's your hint for next week's projects. We are going to be pulling out our terracotta pots. But until then, make it a great day and Happy Tuesday!